Better. I'm actually doing this session along with my colleague and friend Jason Nissen, who's over there. He's coming from Cal State Chico, but actually from Oregon. And we're L agents, meaning that we are like secret L agents of change that go around the country, you know, spreading the good word about the LA program. And along helping us too, they've been introduced as Laurel Hartley from UC Denver, who's also going to be helping, and Jeff Boyer from North Dakota State. And I saw him, he's coming back from the restroom. So I'm just curious, how many people have never, first time for like an LA workshop, LA type of workshop? Okay, cool. Anybody actually been to the regional workshop or the Boulder workshop 1, 2? Okay, that's good. And I know that's great, and you can actually lean on them for their experiences at these workshops. But also, I'm kind of curious is that it seems like a lot of people have LA programs. I'm just wondering, who is in a department or institution that is trying to start an LA program? How many people? 1, 2, 3. And does that mean like the rest of you actually have LA programs, existing LA programs? All right, that sounds good. So because we're coming from different institutions, some have LA programs. I talked to some people on the bus. They're at departments that are trying to do LAs. We want to kind of talk about what is an LA, right? So some questions to consider are that you have on your worksheet are, what is an LA? What is an LA supposed to do? What is an LA not supposed to do? And what support does an LA need to do those things that an LA is supposed to do? So if you could first take a couple of minutes working by yourself, just writing some ideas on that piece of paper, and then we'll talk to each other. But first, like 3 minutes, just answering the worksheet questions, and we're passing them out. I think everybody has one now. Thanks. 3 essential elements. That's the foundations of the LA experience. The one is the practice. What LAs do, leading learning teams in a classroom that looks like this, or whatever classroom that you have. We had an interesting discussion about whether you need to build new classrooms to use LAs. The answer is no, of course. There's also the one essential element is the weekly prep meeting that instructors have with LAs every week, which is a fundamental part of the LA program. There's also the pedagogy course. And in the discussions that happened around the room, we were talking about existing programs that you would have and how you could maybe transform supplemental instruction or teaching assistants. I heard someone say over here how to turn them into LAs. I think the pedagogy course is what differentiates the LA program from a lot of other undergraduate instructor models. So these are our 3 foundational elements, our essential elements. And in the context, we wanted you to keep thinking about how to implement these 3 things locally at your institution. The 3 essential elements, that how the practice of which we've been watching, how the weekly prep meeting and how the pedagogy course actually influences both the training of the LAs and the feedback that they get, and also the training of the instructors who are in the classroom as well and working with the LAs. And in order to facilitate this discussion, we've actually divided you into groups according to the room. So on this side, tables 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8. I'd like to invite 8 also. You actually have questions to consider about the weekly prep meeting. So they've been passed out, and if you could talk about those. Then in the back row here, we have everybody talking about the pedagogy course. So those are the questions that you have been passed out. And then over here is about the practice as well. So if we could, again, work in small groups on individually looking at these 3 things, and then we'll bring it all together before lunch. I heard, well, actually, I asked for some volunteers because some of the other tables, I think, wanted to hear from what's happening on the other side of the room. So maybe we could start with weekly prep. I'm right here. We could start with weekly prep. Anyone, some observations or comments about weekly prep meetings? Start here? Oh, yeah. Thank you. So I heard that was great. Not just a general feedback about how things are going, but also practicing what questions you would ask when a student asks you a question, which is sometimes hard to come up with on the spot, but developing these in the weekly prep meeting. Okay. So maybe we should put you in a farther classroom, and so the walk would be longer. And then other things about weekly prep. Again, it might be obvious to you, but again, remember the whole other side of the room was talking about something different. Is there someone here who? Oh, okay. She volunteered you. Well,
And I'm not really even here. I just tagged along with her. We mostly talked about how it gives them a chance to construct best practices. Because if you're going to talk about problems in weekly prep, you're also going to talk about how are we going to solve those problems. And so instead of, you, the instructor, saying to the LAs, hey, do it this way, they can all talk. You just sit there and listen, and they can kind of work out what the best practices would be. That gives them a lot more agency and more confidence.
thank you. That was a pretty excellent comment being put on the spot. Yes, thanks.
So one additional thing, a lot of us thought about the content that they were going to be presenting. But what I would suggest is in the prep meeting, there should also be some reinforcement of the training that they get in the pedagogy course. So maybe you give them an assignment to learn some student names, or you give them an assignment where you're going to observe them facilitating a group. So don't forget that piece about the reinforcement of their pedagogy training.